Morning, everyone. Hope everybody is fully awake and aware after the holiday weekend. Hope you had a good time. And good morning. And as a my reminder, please turn off all your cell phones or silence them. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearing for April 1st, 2024. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature, they are informal, which means you are not hampered by rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware that there is a history. You may briefly tell the Commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the Commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the Commissioners have an additional question, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the Chief of Police or the representative. The recommendation of the Commission will be taken into consideration and a final decision will be made by the Chief of Police or their designated representative. If, as a defendant in the case, you are unhappy with the decision of the Commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders, such as potentially dangerous, or vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. We can call the first case.
Okay, we are going to call the first case. The first case, all parties who have an interest in this case, please use the raise hand function to let me know that you would like to participate. The first case that we are going to call is Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control versus Natalie Collier. When we promote you, please keep yourself unmuted, but do not begin to speak. We are going to work on getting you sworn in. Okay. Now, those parties that will be speaking in this case, if you could please raise your right hand and keep your hand raised. Okay. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And then if you could please, Ms. Collier, you'll go first. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Natalie Collier. My address is 1279 Isle Drive, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
My name is Autumn Cortez. I'm at 411 Maxwell Fry Road in Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Okay. I am going to ask that everyone please use the mute function when you are not the party speaking, and then I'm going to turn things over to Chairman Evans.
Okay, thank you. As I understand this case, Ms. Collier is bringing in the appeal. So you will state your case first. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So this is an appeal for a potentially dangerous order that I received, and there's two items. There were a number of different items that were listed on the order, and there's two that I appealed. The others have already been done. The first one, which is most important, is there was a requirement to muzzle during walking the dog. My request for appeal is two parts. One is he's an American Bulldog, so by breed, they already have a shorter nasal passage and they do have a hard time breathing. So already as he just on a normal walk without having a muscle or anything that restrains him, that would be a concern for me for his health or well-being. The second part is that he has never, in the purpose behind the potentially dangerous order, he didn't inflict actually any bites or wounds onto the other animal that the commission found concerns with. So lack of him actually biting another animal, I think it's a little aggressive combined with the concerns for his health. Also, the situation at hand was never at a time where he was under control. Like, for instance, in that particular instance, and any of the time that has ever been a concern, he wasn't under the care or control of one of the pet owners, myself or my husband or my children that walk him. We've never had an incident, and there's never been an incident where he's been under leash or harness as we're walking him, where he's even ever approached another animal or been aggressive in any manner or inflicted any harm or injury on animal or person. So I'm respectfully requesting that the commission remove that restriction to have him muzzled while under leash. The second one, which is less of an importance for me, but it was more, I understand from the last time I attended the commission, it may be inappropriate to ask questions of, it's inappropriate to ask questions of the council. I'm not sure if maybe Ms. Cortez could mention, or potentially even one of the officers that's on here. I don't understand the requirement for having him neutered. He was, for everybody's reference, we're not a dog breeder. We don't have breeding of dogs. He is, however, the son of our other bulldog that we have in the house. And there was a request. We did have a request from another party to have him bred. So I wasn't I'm not aware of why the castration requirement is on there. And if somebody could shed light on that information, that would be helpful.
Okay, we'll get the answer for that question. I do believe, and I don't have all the information in front of me, and I haven't had a chance to read it all, but I do believe at large, was there an at large issue with your complaint?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that is probably it. I will allow Ms. Cortez to answer that question. Probably go in a little bit more deeper than I could. Go ahead.
Can I ask a procedural question before we go any further? I'm a little confused because we just heard this case. So this would be the second appeal on the same case. No, and Autumn is shaking her head no. How?
She's appealing the potentially dangerous order that we put in place as a result from what happened with Mr. Sousey and his dog from the February commission.
Okay. So was there not already a potentially dangerous order at the time that that appeal came up?
No, not that I'm aware of. It was
So if
well
I'm
after my
understanding,
last. Sorry.
if I'm understanding the timeline here, the commission made its recommendation on an at-large civil citation, and then subsequently to that recommendation, Animal Care and Control unilaterally decided to apply a PDO to this pet. Is that a correct understanding of the circumstances?
History of warning.
So there's actually, upon further investigation into Gooch, there's actually a history of the dog potentially attacking other animals. In 2019, which we'll go ahead and share on the screen now, there was a warning letter already issued to Ms. Collier for Gooch for a dog named Chop, I believe. So based off that warning letter and the incident with Mr. Salsi and the video that we have from his ring camera, we believe that the potentially dangerous order was necessary as the dog already has a history of doing this. So this is
I guess that was my confusion, because we were here just on public safety threat before. Okay, so there's been a new order entered. That's what I wasn't.
Yeah.
All right.
So from that commission hearing in February, we then issued the PDO because upon further investigation, we found this warning letter that was already issued to her. It's at a separate address where she used to live, but it's for the same dog for a public safety threat as well. So that's why we went ahead and said that the potentially dangerous order was necessary as it's a pattern.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. But it was definitely for the same animal.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just kind of like to circle back, just so I don't like become repetitive in nature. Based off of this information that we have here, the vet records, some of the pictures are on here. They might be a little bit just because they are in black and white. It just shows that the animal was bit. He was attacked. And based off this, and then the ring video, if you wish to see it again, we can go ahead and play it again. Robin, if you. It's right there. I went ahead and added it. Give us 1 second. We're going to go ahead and play the video one more time. Based off of that video there, in my personal and professional opinion, that's not a dog running to come be playful or engage in any type of playful manner with the other dog. Mr. Salsi had to physically get the dog to get away from him and his dog itself. So based off that incident, that video, that public safety threat, and the warning letter that Ms. Collier already received for the same dog back in 2019, we believe that everything in the PDO should continue forth as it is.
Okay. Before we get a little too far ahead of ourselves, I think that the question that Ms. Collier had was about the neutering, and I'm not, I'm just a chairman of the commission here, but it's my belief that the neutering requirement is for a dog that has a habit of being, or an animal that has a habit of being at large from impregnating the other animals in the neighborhood. If there's anything else to add, feel free, Autumn.
So when we get animals neutered or spayed, it can help reduce the aggression that is displayed in animals, given like the hormone levels. So in this case, even though the dog's running at large and there being a repetitive nature of a public safety threat, we believe that neutering Gooch would help reduce that aggression in his behavior. So that way, God forbid he is ever at large again, it won't be so much force going for it. It will help level him out a little bit, get his levels down to where he doesn't feel the need to be so aggressive when he sees, for example, another male dog, or a female dog, that he would want to try to interact with.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. You ended with a question, Miss Collier. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I understand the, thanks for clarifying the neutering and the person, and I didn't even think about the at-large. I did want to touch on the 2019 as well, since she brought that in, and understood that both of those, and the 2019 case, and I don't have the information relevant to that, but I did meet with an officer at the time, and that was 5 years ago now. And it was actually a dual case. So I just want to be clear that our neighbor, we had about 4 acres. Our neighbor had like 3 acres. There were no fences in between the properties. And that was a dual case at the time. It wasn't just, there was a warning that was also issued against the other dog where they both happened to be out at the same time. Gooch also went to the vet, and he also had pictures similar to that. So I wanted to clarify that for the council, because it was also, and again, also at large. I mean, to the point that a much different setup than what our current property is, but it was not a time where he was ever under care or control of someone, such as on a leash, to be required to the point where he should be required to have a muzzle when he's out and he's under care and control. The other items, again, on the list, and I'm happy to withdraw my request for the castration because it does make sense what you're mentioning, and also because they were both at-large issues that he could. I didn't even think about the process of him impregnating another dog. I'm not sure why I didn't think about that, but also because he's not. I mean, I realize these are 2 incidents, it's the same dog, but there's a 5-year gap in between the two, and understanding our property setup is much different here. We did have an officer that came to the home. I'm not sure if that officer's on the call or not. She did view the animal. She did see him interact with. At the time, we had construction workers here. He wasn't caged. He wasn't kept behind closed doors. He was interacting with her, these strangers that were in the home. So again, I do recognize the scenario with the videotape, but it wasn't, and I'm not sure if you guys received the information. Maybe Ms. Cortez, you could confirm the response after seeing the video at our last hearing was the first time that I'd ever seen it, knew that it existed, or even at the time knew that took place. It was almost a year ago now, because that was in July of 2023 when that actually happened. So going back in records, there was the only time that he had gotten out, especially that with us not having that information, unaware that it had happened. And our home has been under some major construction. So at the time, we had an automatic gate opener that was disabled. We had random people coming in and out of the home very frequently, cars, trucks, etc. So all that being said, though, backwards from after I had time to digest the video and the information, I think that I'm imploring to the council, especially for his ability and for us to walk him, because he has walked on a routine basis. I think it absolutely would inhibit him to have a muzzle on, and I don't think that he's exhibited, if we comply with all of the other orders, I don't think he's exhibited the behavior, especially while under control, to be required to have a muzzle while out in public.
Okay. I'm going to ask a question of our commission's veterinarian. I do believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Hammer, I do believe that there are various muzzles. There's ones that will prevent a bite rather than restricting the airway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ed. If I think Ms. Collier has a legitimate concern if we're advocating that the dog be placed in a sleeve muzzle. And if everybody's looking at their screen, a sleeve muzzle is the one that Robin's pointing to at the end. Yeah, there you go, sleeve muzzle. You like that? Get a muzzle like that, and Ms. Collier's absolutely right. This dog's going to have respiratory problems, and it's probably not the best thing for the dog. However, there are a number of no-bite muzzles that are out there available for brachiocephalics, which are these short-nosed breed dogs that would suit the PDO, and I think that that's probably a reasonable recommendation that she attain one of these muzzles. Like you see there, the second one from the right. I mean, that fits on the dog just fine. Dog's not going to have any respiratory problems. Dog can drink water through that. I don't believe that the request for a protective no bite muzzle is reasonable. We should go ahead and have this dog muzzled when it's out on a leash.
Okay. And now we will have Ms. Cortez continue. If there's any other thing with your testimony, you were kind of hit and go there a little bit. So go ahead.
I just wanted to make note that while there has been a 5-year gap in both instances where the animal was not in any control, the animal was running at large, it escalated both times. I understand that when the dog is leashed and with the owner, there's more control, but we're not talking about a dog being on a leash. We're talking about a dog getting out, running at large, and attacking another animal. So that's like the biggest thing there for me. The other incident is the other thing that Ms. Collier brought up was that she didn't see the video or anything like that. With the commission, you can do a PII request, but it's not like district court where evidence has to be submitted for both parties to see. So, I'm sorry that the video wasn't shown to you before then, but, that's just kind of the nature of things are. If you would like all of the information, you can do a PII request. But, the fact remains is that 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, same thing happened. The dog was not being maintained on a leash, running at large, and attacked another dog. So that's just really our biggest concern is if the dog gets out again, it's going to do the same thing again.
Perfect. You just give them a call and we'll get things set up so you can go with cheese.
Okay. Let's
Dispatch the page for me.
I think Dr. Hemmer disappeared here for a minute. I'm going to wait until there he is. Okay.
My apologies.
No problem. No problem. Just making sure everybody is on board before we go any further. Ms. Collier, do you have anything further?
I just wanted to clarify the order that I'm appealing requires the muzzle when under leash. There's no requirement for muzzle in the yard because there's a number of other requirements for maintaining the yard, the fencing, etc., which we've already complied with. So I just wanted to clarify that for the commission. It's not if he's on leash and he's under control, which is when none of those incidents have occurred, and where Ms. Cortez's testimony was that he's under better control. That's where my appeal is coming into play. All of the other items that were on the requirement have already complied with. It's just the on leash when he's under care and control, which is when none of these incidents have happened. Not downplaying their incidents, but I'm actually appealing is the on leash muzzle requirement when he's out.
But Ms. Collier, can I ask a question? But your reason for appealing the muzzle was you were concerned that it was restricting your dog's breathing because he's a short-nosed breed, correct?
It was two parts. My first part was I was concerned, which you've alleviated that, but also that I didn't feel that there's been no incidents, especially when he's under care and control, that he's ever approached a person, another animal, etc., while on leash. So there were two parts to the concern.
Okay. Ms. Cortez, anything further?
I don't have anything further. I do believe that the muzzle should be kept in place. Just because there's the warning letter already, the PDO, while it was at large, I get it, but it's just kind of a safety measure for our community.
Okay. All right. With that being said, I believe it's time to adjourn for our deliberations. So we will do that at this time, unless anybody has anything further. I think we
I do
got.
have one other question
Go ahead.
before because maybe I'm confused. My understanding, or maybe it's not in this PDO and I didn't see it, but I thought once a PDO is in place, the animal had to be maintained exclusively on the owner's property except for medical treatment or examination. I thought the dog couldn't be walked out in public.
It can, as long as it's on a leash and the dog is muzzled. If it's not going to be on a leash, if the dog's not going to be muzzled, then the dog cannot be walked. Has to stay on the property.
Okay, so am I misreading it? Maybe I have an old copy of the statute. I'm looking at 12-403 B 8. And it says maintain the animal exclusively on the owner's property except for medical treatment or examination. So is that okay? I'm looking at the statute. You're looking at the.
So on number 4, it says gooch shall not be taken out of a home, fenced area, or kennel unless restrained on a 6-foot leash with a collar and harness that is clipped together with a secure carabiner clip or coupler and muzzled under the control of a responsible person. So in the PDO that we issued, it's there that he can be walked as long as he's muzzled and on a 6-foot leash.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. We ready to continue to our deliberations now? Everybody clear? All right. We will do that now. And let's start. I don't want to pick on you, Dr. Hammer, but you're our resident veterinarian, and I think it would be best if you went first in this particular case.
Based on testimony that I've heard and the history with the case, I think we should uphold the PDO as it's written. Miss Collier seems to have acquiesced to the neuter appeal and the muzzling appeal. I think that this pet should be muzzled when it's off property on a leash. And once again, the underwriting goal of the commission is to try and protect the community. And I think this dog has demonstrated that it does pose a risk to the community. And I'm concerned that if this dog is not muzzled, based on the history of the escalation of the events with this pet, that at some point we are going to get a bite that's going to be a problem. And that's what I'd like to try and avoid. So based on that, I'd recommend that we uphold the neuter part of the PDO as well as the muzzle part of the PDO.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hammer. We'll go to Gregory.
Hi. So based on everything I kind of heard, I could go either way because I personally have a husky and sometimes he gets a little bit aggressive but based on everything, like I said, either for the muzzle, she's only appealing the muzzle. So depending on what the commission is leaning towards, I could go either way. I do understand the concerns. And like she said, this never happened while the dog was being under control. So that's why I give a little bit of leniency. But I do understand the health risk, the risk to the public. And so I'll probably want to hear more from you guys, what you guys are leaning towards. And then I'll make my final decision.
Okay. Nicole?
I'm with Gregory at this point, except for the fact that I'm not sure that the muzzling is really going to do much since the dog's history of at large and, the dog's getting out somehow and a muzzle would not be required if it was on its property. So that's what I'm going back and forth on. There hasn't been an issue on leash. So, the at-large issue, although only two documented cases over the last few years, I think that the at-large issue is more a problem for me, and the fact that a muzzle wouldn't help protect the public in an at-large situation.
Understand. Thank you. Jackie?
I think we should uphold the muzzle because number one, we've satisfied her concern about the short nose, and there are muzzles that are designed for those kinds of dogs. My biggest concern is because the dog has shown extreme aggression towards other dogs, that if he should get loose when he's being leash walked because he sees another dog, then we have the potential for another real problem. So I think the muzzle should be on.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Jennifer?
I'm in agreement with Dr. Hummer because I think if the justification is that there's never been a concern, well, the dog's on leash, I guess given the history we've seen, I don't want to wait for there to have to be an incident for somebody to get hurt before we place this. And as long as there's no harm to the dog using the kind of muzzle that Dr. Hemmer described, I don't see the downside to having the muzzle requirements. So I would vote to uphold the order as written.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Is Corporal Zybo with us, or?
Yes, I'm present.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, given the totality of everything that I've just heard today, without knowing the history of everything, but learning a little bit about the more information, given the years past, I would vote to uphold the order as well.
Thank you. Yes. I noted, as we discussed the case, that they have complied with the issues of, I guess, the fencing and the secondary barriers and everything, hopefully to try to put a little control on the at-large issue, which I understand that, the muzzle wouldn't be a good idea if it was going to get off property anyway without the muzzle and be at large. I understand that, but I also understand that the other issues of the fencing and things like that to restrict the dog from being at large have been complied with. That they didn't, that Ms. Collier did not want to appeal those particular issues. So I do believe a muzzle while walking would be a good idea to keep any further incident from occurring, as we saw in the video. And as noted, it does have a tendency to do that. The only thing that I was questioning, to try to be a little bit more reasonable, is if they had plans to mate the animal, we could postpone the whatever you call it, castration, whatever. I hate to use that term. If there was, but it just sounded to me like there wasn't a plan to do that. It was just, go ahead, Jackie.
I'm sorry. I strongly believe this is not a characteristic that we want to pass on through breeding, the aggression. So I think that we should uphold the neutering as well.
Okay, she didn't have a problem with that. I noted that in her appeal, she said that, and I was just thinking, if it was in the works right now, reasonably could be postponed. And I was just throwing that out there, but I hear you. So we need a motion. You're muted, Dr. Hammer.
Sorry about that. I make a motion that we uphold the PDO as written.
A second.
Okay.
Third.
Motion's made and seconded. The only I'm looking at Corporal's eyeball. We don't have him on camera, so when we say all in favor, I'm not going to know if you are in favor or not. You're not on video, so we'll need a yay from you or a nay. So all in favor?
Yay.
There we go. Okay, looks unanimous.
Unanimous, thank you.
Hey, Ed.
Yes, sir.
Just a question to the commission going forward. The legislation that we were discussing last month, if that goes through, that would mean that the next year, Miss Collier could appeal the muzzle component of the PDO again, correct?
I think that part of the bill is so it's not going to go through. It's just
okay.
It doesn't. I'm not going to say.
We can talk about it at the end of the meeting, but I mean, a
Yeah.
lot has happened with that, but that's not going to happen at all this round of legislation. So you don't have to worry about that.
I was
think
just trying to
there-
put the whole thing in practical applications for
Yeah,
us, so
and
that's fine.
That was a stumbling block that was brought up. That it's going to clog our docket completely.
Well, but that was the exact reason why I wanted a threshold requirement in there, that you had to meet a threshold, that you had to meet a material change in circumstance. You have to show us why something is different.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
maybe the dog now had a neck injury or something and couldn't wear a muzzle. Maybe there was some medical
Sure.
reason why it couldn't. That's a change in circumstance. But we were suggesting you can't keep coming back with the same set of facts. But in any event, at the end of the meeting, we can talk about what happened with the legislation because a lot went on in the last two council hearings.
Yeah.
My apologies for going off topic.
Well, that's
My
okay.
apologies.
But you're right. That is an absolute practical, effect of what we'd be dealing with after that legislation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought. Thank you.
So, are we ready to continue on the next case?
So the next case, all parties having an interest in the case of Alex Kligman versus Cheryl Tate. We have 3 citations. If you could please utilize the raise hand function so I can promote you to panelist. Once promoted, please refrain from speaking until I have everyone for the case promoted. And it appears that the complainant in this case has not joined the commission. Animal Care and Control has emailed and texted and tried to reach the complainant for the case, and they have not joined or reached out to us. I did go ahead and promote the dog owner. So Ms. Tate, if you want to go ahead and turn on your video.
Well, if the complaint hasn't showed up, I make a motion we dismiss.
That's forthcoming. That's forthcoming there, Dr. Hammer. That's forthcoming.
Does not appear for an FPC
Okay,
case.
just sorry.
No problem. You're absolutely correct. I got the hammer up right now. Waiting on the defendant to pop up here.
Miss Tate, I have sent requests for her to unmute and for her to turn on her video.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessary, even if she can't do it for whatever reason. Dr. Hemmer made a motion and I
Yeah.
seconded it. Is there any procedural reason why we couldn't vote?
I would just like her to be aware of the status.
She seems to be
She-
having mic issues because she texted on the chat, "Can you hear me?"
Okay. She's trying. So I just wanted her to be able to be aware of the outcome of the case and want to be able, there she. Can you
She's
hear her?
unmuted.
She's unmuted. Can you hear us?
I'd like to be sure that the licensing has been taken care of.
Miss Tate, it looks like you're unmuted. Can you try and talk?
Okay, we'll give her a couple minutes and then we'll move forward. We do have a motion on the floor that has been seconded. Let me see here. She lost audio. Miss Tate?
I don't think we need to wait for her if someone
Okay.
made a motion.
All right. As the zoning codes, I'm sorry. The Anne Arundel County codes permit if the complainant fails to show, as noted by Dr. Hemmer, then the case is dismissed. So, Ms. Tate, I hope you can at least hear us. The motion is to dismiss the charges on you and your animal. The 3 citations that are listed in the case, I don't think I need to call the numbers or anything, but motion has been made. Dr. Hammer, if you want to repeat that.
Yeah, I make a motion that we dismiss citations ending in 91, 92, and 93 against Ms. Tate.
And Jennifer, you seconded?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous. And that is what the law requires when the the complainant does not show. So.
Can you hear me now?
She's talking now.
Okay,
Oh, she's on now?
I'm on. Well, I got that part fixed. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you.
And she's muted again.
Okay, the minutes have all been taken care of from the last meeting, I believe. Yeah. So everybody has seen the minutes. I already signed off on them because it was that dealing with the discussions on the proposed legislation. And I guess before we make a motion to adjourn, we should discuss the status of that legislation as it stands right now. Jennifer, I believe you attended the last open meeting on that. I couldn't make it, unfortunately. And I believe there is one more open meeting for this particular bill before it dies or remains as is without any additional amendments. So if you want to enlighten us, please do.
I had gone down and testified a couple times. This was Bill 124. What happened was we had made some real progress and gotten several amendments put through that us and various other, me personally, because I was not speaking on behalf of the commission and I made that clear, but that several of the other organizations like the Animal Welfare Council, we had gotten some amendments passed and it looked like we were going to get a bill that, nobody was, I think, was thrilled with, but we could live with it. Especially because, it changed the fees and made some of the changes that I know Robin needed for animal care and control. But then at the 11th hour, it was the craziest thing. There were 4 additional amendments that were put in the day of the last vote, the last hearing. And I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but it was 2 weeks ago today. And these were not just minor tweaks; these were substantial. For example, these new amendments now allowed for a reconsideration of a dangerous designation, not just reconsideration of the conditions. It was, for me personally, it was kind of shocking to see such sweeping changes proposed. And it was literally at the 11th hour. I saw them at 2:00 that afternoon. So nobody had any time to vet these or go through them. Some of the amendments were obviously designed to clean up the statute as written. And I appreciated that just from a legal perspective. I thought there were some good suggestions in there, but it was way too much, way too late. And since the last meeting was the last one where you could put amendments in, because the bill itself has to get voted on tonight, we all kind of scrambled. Those of us who were testifying discussed it ahead of time, and we testified that night to go forward with to remove all the public safety pieces and amendments of the bill and just go forward on the fees and conditions and things like that animal care and control needed. And so it did go through that way, and Robin can give you more details on that. So tonight, what they did last time was, they put our bill off till the end of the meeting, and while we were waiting for the other bills to be heard, they had a new amendment drafted that removed all of the public safety changes and just went forward on the other half of the bill. And at the end of the night, that was approved. And tonight is the final vote on Bill 124 as amended, to remove with only the fees and cruelty section still intact. Does that make sense?
Perfectly. Thank you for doing all that, Jennifer.
Yes.
I didn't do most of it. I mean, I came up and talked for a few minutes, but I mean, the people behind the scenes was Robin and the Animal Welfare Council and all the other ladies involved. They've put a lot of work into this, and it was actually kind of sad to see, a little disheartening that, this bill's been on the table. It had been on the table 10 weeks at that point, and to see these kind of changes coming in so last minute. But I'm guessing it's because the county council was operating without legislative council for quite a long time, and they recently hired legislative council. And like I said, just my personal opinion, and I'm no expert, but I think that legislative council went in and tried to fix and clean up some things. I don't know where these other suggestions came from, but those 4 amendments went way beyond the scope of anything we had seen previously. There's no way, without time to vet it, that anybody could have gotten behind it and supported it.
Okay. Well, hopefully animal care and control got what they need to operate more efficiently and fairly. So that's kind of really the impetus here of all this, I think.
Well, it has yet to be voted on, so we'll see. It gets voted on tonight.
Assuming it gets voted on tonight, yeah.
Right. And it will have to get voted on tonight because this bill is rapidly approaching its expiration. So if any new amendments are introduced tonight and passed, it'll then expire because they won't be able to vote on it tonight. At least that's my understanding. So if no amendments are passed tonight, then they can vote on the bill as it currently is. And that is available on the county council's website. Still 124, but they do post the most updated versions based on the last hearing if anyone wants to review. But as Jennifer Branza had stated, right now it is just the cruelty pieces and the waiving of fee pieces And my understanding is the plan was not to give up on making the changes to the public safety section, but rather to take a little bit more time, and stakeholders that were there had said that they really wanted to be more participatory in the process and give feedback on those big amendments that were being introduced last hearing. So I do not believe the intent is to get rid of the concept of making these changes, but just to slow things down on those and make sure that everyone is comfortable. I think Councilman Volke and many of the other council members said things along the lines of, we don't want to pass it for the sake of passing it. We want to pass good legislation. So if everyone feels like we're not there yet, let's put a little bit more work in it, but let's not slow the process on the things that everyone agrees on.
Good.
Okay.
Robin, can they even introduce any more amendments tonight? Because I thought all the amendments had to be in by last meeting.
I don't know for sure. I think we have some members of Office of Law here, so maybe one of them can answer, Aisha or Kern.
Yeah, since tonight is the last meeting before the bill expires, I think all the amendments had to be in last week. I don't think they can introduce any new amendments tonight. It's either pass or fail in its current form. Am I
I'm
wrong,
not
Kern?
the legal expert from my office, so I can't say for sure. I don't know that there's anything that would prohibit them from offering an amendment. I think if the amendment passes, then I think that the bill would just not be able to be voted on and would just get to its expiration date. So I don't know that anyone would do that, but I don't know the council rules well enough to be able to say for sure whether or not they would be able to propose an amendment or not.
Okay. So maybe the practical effect is if, maybe there isn't anything prohibiting it on the last hearing date, but the practical effect is if you didn't get it in the meeting before the last one, the bill would, fails anyway.
Yeah, you couldn't get it in if you wanted to.
Oh boy. That's the that's the pace of how things go, I suppose. And Robin, I just need to, and the rest of the commission, I need to make you aware that there is a possibility. I can't say right now that I'm not going to be able to make the next meeting. I have a schedule with the Board of Election, and then on top of it, I get a summons for jury duty in the mail. So, yeah. So right now I'm kind of fighting both issues. I'm not fighting both issues. I do have a responsibility with the Board of Election, with the what they call the canvassing procedure, where they count the ballots and stuff. But man, I was really thrown when I opened up that summons for jury duty in the mail of all times. Here I am, almost 70 years old, and never you couldn't get me beforehand. You got to get me right now. I think they're trying to get me before I turn 70. Is what
exactly
what the deal is. Yeah.
And
so
the next
I'm glad you mentioned that, Ed, because I went and immediately looked at the date. So our next meeting in May is May 6th.
May 6th, yes.
And it's also possible, but not confirmed, that I might not be here as well. My daughter plays college lacrosse on the West Coast, and if they make it to the championship, which they did last year, if they make it back to the championship this year, I'm going to be on the West Coast watching that game. So I can't guarantee it'll happen. I think there's a possibility it could happen that weekend. So I don't know that I'd be back on the East Coast by Monday. Although if I'm just parked somewhere, I could jump on a Zoom. Right.
Good luck to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good luck.
But that will mean, just want to remind everyone else that if we are possibly down 2 commission members, we will need everybody else to try to be here because we need to have a quorum.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. If we're missing 2, if Ed and Jennifer can't make it, we will in fact have a quorum if everybody else shows
we would
up.
still
Correct?
have a quorum.
Okay.
Coroner Aisha, I think it's, since it's a 7-member, I think as long as we have 4, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Correct. And like I said, if I can get an excusal or whatever they call it from the jury duty, I will probably be here. But I got 10 days to do that, so I'm going to start right after we adjourn here.
And it's a really simple process. I had to do that recently.
Really?
And what you do is you delay it for a period of time.
Till next year?
No, it's like, a couple months.
That's
Because
what
I
I'm
come back up in June.
You know this election's coming up, and as of when it starts, I don't know if you all know, but I'm also on the board of election, and they've elected me president of the canvassing procedures. So that is where we have 50 teams of 2 people opening all the mail-in ballots and counting them and make sure they're readable and all that kind of good stuff. And I really enjoy that work. And we're going to do the primary and the early and the general and the early and all that kind of good stuff. So it's going to take up my time a lot between now and the end of the year.
Thank you, Ed. I'm
Yeah.
a chief judge. I've been for
Really?
years, forever.
Good.
Yeah, and I
Thank you.
usually participate in the canvassing, and I really enjoy that. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So with that, hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed. Those of us that don't have arthritis like me, you can cross your fingers. But all right. Do I hear? Are there any other matters that need to be discussed?
Do we need a motion to okay the minutes from last month?
No, we did it right after the meeting because it
we
involved
did
the
it.
legislation.
That's right. That's right. We did. My bad.
I do want, Jackie did mention one thing, and I think, I don't want to take it for granted, but I think that Animal Care and Control automatically does that. You had a issue with the animals that were on here being unlicensed. And Robin, is that taken care of
Yeah,
outside?
Autumn follows up on that and issues citations and things like that if they fail to license, and then we issue more citations if they continue to fail to license.
Okay.
So Jackie,
So that's just automatically done then, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Outside of the scope of the case. So, all right.
Thank you.
We have come to that time where I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, you all have a great month. Hopefully,
that's a good month too.
see you.
Hopefully we see everybody in May.
Yep.
Hopefully I will see you.
Thank